I like my bike. I don't want to hurt my bike. Hey guys, welcome back for another video. I'm Lewis from Recycle Bicycle Sales, and today we're going to talk about how you can service your bike at home. Now today we're actually going to be going through my own personal bike. I went out for a bike ride on the weekend and unfortunately I got caught out in the rain and I haven't had a chance to clean my bike yet. So we're going to run through how to sort of get my bike ready between all the different services. It's probably worth noting as well that today's video isn't about replacing the local bike shop servicing. It's more just about the interim servicing that you can do yourself at home between major services. Step number one is we're going to clean the frame and the wheels. I'm going to group them together because we're going to do the same process for both different parts. So here I'm actually using the Muck Off Bike Wash. You could just use some soapy water for this as well, whether it's a spray bottle or you've got a little sponge and you're cleaning it just like that. All I'm really doing here is just wetting the sort of the areas that I'm going to need to clean as well. Once it's all wet, all we're going to do is just give it a nice little wipe down. We're getting rid of any perhaps sand that's on there or dirt or anything like that. Literally all we're doing is just cleaning the frame. So the way that I like to clean the wheels is I just spray it on both sides and then I'll grab a rag and I'll start at the valve, and all I'm doing is I'm gripping the spokes while I'm sort of wiping this section of the wheel and then move along to the next section of wheel. And I'm just going to go all the way around the wheel just like that. Through this process, you want to be careful that you're not scratching. You might have noticed that as I was wiping, I actually flicked the rag. That was me kind of just getting the dirt and dust off of there. So it might be a little bit over the top, but I like my bike. I don't want to hurt my bike. So I'll throw the dust down there rather than it getting back on the bike. And then we'll just repeat the process for the front. The next step is we're going to clean the chain. You might notice I've actually just put some little gloves on now. I'm about to sit down for lunch and I don't want my hands smelling like drivetrain cleaner. So that's the reason that I've done this. But the way that I do this is I get my rag, I hold it behind the chain, and I'm just going to spray that section of chain, and then I'm going to pinch the jockey wheel between my pointer finger and my thumb, and I'm going to put my pinky finger holding around a spoke here, just so that the wheel doesn't spin around on me. So I'm just pinching it the whole thing still, and I'm just going to focus on that section of chain, move it forward, and then repeat the process until we do a full revolution of the chain. A quick little thing I'd just like to mention here is when you're spraying onto the chain, be really careful that it's not going through the chain into the brake rotor. You do not want drivetrain cleaner to get on your brake rotors. So now that you've done all the individual sections, now I want to sort of dry off the whole chain. So I'll sort of wrap my whole hand with the rag around the chain, and I'm just going to spin it backwards until I think that it's, as dry as it needs to be. Now that your chain is nice and clean, this might be a great opportunity to actually re-lubricate it as well. We did a video recently about how to care for and maintain your chain, and chain lubricant was a really important step that we had in there. We're actually thinking of doing an in-depth video about how to degrease and clean your entire drivetrain. If you think that would be a good video to do, let us know in the comments below. Now we're going to have a quick look at the brakes. The first thing that I would say here is pulling out brake levers. We want to check that they're not pulling too far. We want to make sure that there's good pressure there and they're working the way that they should be. Let's have a look at the calipers. Now that we're down here at the caliper, we want to spin the wheel and make sure it's not rubbing anywhere. We want to make sure it's nice and central so that the wheel can spin freely and it's not trying to stop it while it's rotating. If it is rubbing, you might need to make a little adjustment with the two bolts that we have here. We actually have a video of this on the channel, so if you want to know more, go and have a look at that video. Now we want to make sure that the rotor is also nice and clean as well. I tend to grab just a brand new paper towel and I can sort of wipe any sort of excess dirt or grime that might be on there. This will help us get the best braking power that we can have from our caliper. The next step that I want to mention is talking about making sure that the bearings are in good condition. There's bearings scattered all throughout the bike, so we want to have a look at each of them sort of individually. The first one I'd say we want to look at is the headset bearings. There's a bearing at the top and a bearing at the bottom. We did a video recently on our channel talking about how to tighten your headset. I think this is the most important thing on your bike, making sure that you have a tight headset. So check out our video there about how to tighten your headset and what a loose headset is. While we're on the topic of bearings, we can talk about the bottom bracket. The bottom bracket bearing, well, there's actually two bearings, one on each side. They're what allow the cranks to spin freely. So making sure that the bottom bracket is in good condition, the cranks can't rock from side to side, that sort of thing. The wheel bearings as well. If we look at the rear wheel here, if we grab the wheel and try and rock it from side to side, there should be no play. It should be completely solid. We want it to be like that. If it's not completely solid, it might be worth just mentioning that when you take it in for the bike service. Hey, Mr. Mechanic, I think my rear wheel bearings are loose. Same deal for the front. Again, we want to try and rock it from side to side. There is no play, which is excellent. But another thing that we can do with the front, you can also do it on the back, but since there's noise, it's a bit more difficult. But if you spin the wheel and hold onto the fork, don't get your fingers caught in the wheel, there's nothing more painful than that. If you can feel any vibrations, that means that the bearings might be a little bit worn. I can feel here that it's buttery smooth. Actually, I can't feel anything. That's how I know that it's buttery smooth. Step number 5 is grab your trusty little Allen keys, and we're gonna do a bolt check over for the full bike. There's a few important spots that I think you need to check at home, even between services. You don't have to put a tool in every single bolt because the mechanic will do that when you get your bike serviced anyway. Some important bolts that I'd recommend are making sure that your axles, the through axle, they're nice and tight, making sure that the pedals are nice and tight as well on both sides, the stem and sort of cockpit area in general, the stem bolts here or the ones on the front of your bike, making sure that they're nice and tight, as well as the seat clamp is another one that I'd strongly recommend. And a really important one is making sure that the hanger bolt is nice and tight, making sure that the rear derailleur isn't going to fall off while you're riding. And a little bonus step that I might just add in, which can be included in with step number 1 while you're cleaning the bike, is looking for cracks. If you have carbon fiber, there could be a crack from an impact in the frame. If you have aluminium or steel or titanium or something like that, you might want to have a look at where the welds are and make sure there's no cracks there. The most common place that I see bikes get cracked is right here. The reason for that is on a lot of road bikes, as the handlebars swing around, they might impact onto the top tube here on either side. That's probably the first spot that I'd have a look at. It's probably the most obvious. And if you're lucky enough to have a set of carbon fiber wheels, you might want to have a look at where each of the individual spokes come through, making sure that the nipple isn't pulling through the rim and causing it to crack. As well as if you hit a really gnarly pothole, first of all, your back's probably telling you that you hit the gnarly pothole, but there might be an impact on the actual outer part of the rim. So check for that while you're here. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you learned something about how to care for and maintain your bike between services at your local bike shop. Now just remember as well, you might need to pump your tires up too. Otherwise, I'm gonna say thank you for watching. I hope you've learned something. Let us know in the comments below if you think there's anything that we missed or there's something that somebody else might appreciate you talking about as well. Otherwise, we'll see you on the next video. See ya.